Hello. Okay, so we're gonna learn SOHCAHTOA. I'm such a nerd. Am so excited for you guys to learn this. When I was in school, my teacher told me about this chief Indian princess, SOHCAHTOA. I'm already a horrible speller, so for me to be able to spell SOHCAHTOA was just a joke. Okay, so I grew up, believe it or not, became a math teacher for high school, and I have a different way of teaching my kids, SOHCAHTOA. So we say S, we say some, O, old, H, hippie, C is for cot, A is for another, H is for hippie, T is for tripping, O is for on, S is for asphalt. What did you think I was going to say? Okay, so some old hippie caught another hippie tripping on asphalt. Okay, so now we know how to spell it. We have a little saying on how to spell it. So S is always for sign. And sine is always going to be the opposite side, our O, over our hypotenuse side. Okay. C is for cosine, and that is for adjacent over hypotenuse. T, tangent. O is always opposite. And then A is adjacent. Can you memorize sine, opposite over hypotenuse, cosine, adjacent over hypotenuse, tangent, opposite over adjacent? Or could you remember some old hippie cut another hippie tripping on asphalt? Probably a little bit easier, okay? Anytime you see an O, it is opposite. Anytime you see an A, it means adjacent. And anytime you see an H, it means hypotenuse. This only works for right triangles because of a hypotenuse. Hypotenuse don't exist unless it's a right triangle, okay? So we're always going to be looking at a certain angle. Most often we call that angle theta. It's just a little zero with a line through it, okay? So if theta is down here, it doesn't matter where theta is. Hypotenuse is hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is going to be opposite of the right angle, okay? Theta, adjacent. What does adjacent mean? If you look it up in the dictionary, it literally means next door, next to, okay? So here's your theta. What's next to theta? Well, hypotenuse is, but it's already a hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is superior, it wins, it cannot be anything else. It's always opposite of the right angle, okay? So that's adjacent to it. Well, this is adjacent to it too. So this one is going to be the adjacent side, or the A side. This is going to be the hypotenuse, okay? And then opposite is going to be across from. Okay, so here's our theta. Across from it, or opposite of it, is our opposite side, which is going to be our O. This triangle changes depending on where theta is. So if we have another right triangle, and theta's up here this time, hypotenuse never changes, right? Hypotenuse is always across from the right angle, so I always start out there. We know adjacent is next to, well, both of those are next to. Hypotenuse is already there, can't bump that guy out, so this one's adjacent. And then opposite is all the way on the other side. Okay, so then this would be the A side, the O side, the H side. You don't have to label it the adjacent, the opposite, the hypotenuse. You can just do A, H, and O. Okay, all right, super, 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 super important. Okay, memorize. SOHCAHTOA, O is opposite, A is adjacent, H is hypotenuse. Okay, all right, so let's look at a couple examples. We're talking about sine. Sine is some, old, hippie, so we know that's going to be the sine. equals the ratio of opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, it's talking about Z being the angle we're looking at. So this is the angle we're looking at. So we're going to have sine of Z is the opposite. I always just label these guys, okay? It takes 2 seconds. We know that this is my H. This is the angle I'm talking about. This is my O. This is my A. I need O. Well, that's 36. I need H. Well, H is 39. Okay, if you can reduce. 3 is divisible by both of those guys. So we can say sine Z equals, 3 goes into both of those, 12 and 13. And that's it. Sine Z equals 12/13. Okay, let's try another one. Tangent. Okay, so that's a T. So some old hippie caught another hippie tripping on asphalt. So tangent is going to be on, which is opposite, asphalt, which is adjacent. We're talking about angle A, so let's go ahead and mark it. Hypotenuse is always opposite of the right angle, so we'll call that H, which means this has to be A, and this is O. Okay, so we have tan of A equals opposite, it's 10, over adjacent, 24. Okay, even, so we can reduce that to be 5 and 12. 5 and 12 we can't reduce anymore. 5/12 it is. Not bad, huh? You guys are doing trigonometry. Okay. Cosine of x. Cosine, some old hippie caught another hippie. Okay, and we're talking about angle x. Angle x. Let's go ahead and label what we got. Opposite of the hypotenuse is the 90-degree angle always. Adjacent is going to be next to the angle we're talking about. And then this is going to be our O. Talking about cosine, so we're going to say cosine of x equals, remember that means adjacent and hypotenuse. So the adjacent side is 35. Hypotenuse side is 37. And that's it. It just wants us to find the ratios. That's it. Okay. One last one. Tangent of Z. So I want you guys to go ahead and try this one on your own. Let me take away that little cheat sheet there. So tangent, some old hippie caught another hippie tripping on asphalt. So we know it's a Toa. Funny story. I had a dog named Sokotoa. We called her Toa for short. Pretty cute name, right? Toa. Okay, so tangent of Z. What's the first thing we should do? Come up with our OAHs. All right, well, let's do that. Let's label it. So we're talking about Z. Opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse. Talking about tangent, so we're going to go opposite, 40 degrees, adjacent, 30 degrees. Whenever we have double zeros on top of each other, we can cancel those guys out. So tangent of Z equals 4/3. How'd you do? Do you love it as much as I do? Good.